Hey, what is going on, guys? My name's Tanner. Welcome to Crypto Bible. I hope you're all very well. I basically wanted to dive into Trius right here. It's no shock or no secret that I'm a great believer in this project. I'm very bullish on it. I post it on Twitter all the time. I'm always keeping an eye on it. And the other day, I posted over there saying, that we could potentially be doing something like this. Obviously, this area right here and this right here just seems to look identical to what's going on right in here before we had that massive parabolic run. And everyone remembers what type of run that was. Unfortunately, I was not in Trias during that time, but we did end up going about 450% in about a week, which was a pretty ridiculous move. And it's quite funny because I am actually recording at a time when Trius seems to be having a little bit of a pump, but that's fine. Because basically what I wanted to do today and what I ended up doing was actually diving into these areas right here, right? So we know exactly that, we know obviously how these things move, very parabolic, and we can obviously tell that these do look very, very similar. Now, what I actually want to do today is dive in to what happened over here, because if we are copying what we're doing, then that is where we are right now. We are in that stage right there. Okay, so the best thing to do to find similarities would be to dive into this moment here, kind of zoom into it, see what was really going on, and see if we've got any similarities to what's going on right now. Now, it's quite funny because, as we know, it does look ridiculously similar, even if we're looking at this on the daily chart, right? And, you can tell right here that we had that big rise up followed by a tiny bit of a correction here. Okay. And as you guys can see, we had that big rise up followed by a bit of a correction here. So if we are doing what this is, okay, if we are doing what that is, then we would be in the final moments before a massive parabolic run. Okay. So if we move over to this chart right here, what I've basically got right here is Trius today on the hourly chart, and then Trius in this moment right here. So this is literally this on the hourly chart as well. Okay. And what we want to do is just kind of just see if we've got any similarities in here. So I've tried to kind of like deep dive into it and see if there was anything I can find to say, right, this is looking quite similar, other than the fact that it just looks the same on the daily chart, right? So straight off the back, what we can see is that we had three peaks right here, right? So you got your one peak here, one there, and one there. Okay. You had three peaks going on right there. Do we have that in what's going on right now? Well, yes, we do. We've got three peaks happening right here. You got one, you got two, you got three. What happened after we had those three peaks? Well, Trias did end up having one other peak just below the high. Okay. So as you guys can see, there was our high. And as you guys can see right there, we had one more peak happen right there before a little bit of a drop. Well, let's just do that. Okay, cool. Absolutely fine. Did we have that in what's going on right now? Well, if we draw our line just at our high there, as you guys can see, yes, we did have one other peak just below our high. So cool, we can draw another line there. So at the moment, what we've got here is four peaks happening and the last one happening just below the previous high. Exact same thing happened in these moments right here. Cool, absolutely fine. What came after that? We had a bit of a drop. Okay, so obviously what we can see right here from the Trias chart back in May is that yes, we did also have a drop that came in, but it was kind of like a longed out drop, more of like, a bit of a consolidation in a bit of a downtrend, eventually getting there, right? So it took about maybe 4 days for it to end up bottoming out here. Remember, this is just the hourly chart. Whereas in regards to Trias, what it ended up doing was just kind of dropping within a few hours. Now, that was obviously subject to Bitcoin as well. Bitcoin did have a bit of a drop, but that's absolutely fine. So another thing that, people know that I like doing is placing Fibonacci retracements over graphs and seeing where our retracements actually end up coming in, right? So if we place a Fibonacci retracement from our top back in May to our bottom right here, what can we see? So if we zoom in on this right now, what can we see from this chart right here? We can see that once we ended up having that big drop, we ended up finding a lot of resistance at that 50% retracement, okay? So it came up to the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement, and it kept finding resistance there, not managing to break through it before finally bottoming out, finding a bit of resistance right there at the 0.382, And then once we broke through that 0.382, it was kind of go time, right? It broke the 50%, came back and back tested it. If I move this over like that, you can see once we broke the 50%, back tested it, and then off we went. Okay. So do we have anything like that going on there where we're finding resistance at the 50% retracement in what's going on right now? Well, if we take our fib retracement and place it over our top to our bottom, where have we been finding the majority of our resistance? Right there at the 50% retracement. As you guys can see, just like Trias did not manage to close a single hourly candle above the 50% retracement after our initial drop, the same thing is happening right here. We are not managing to close a single candle above the 50% retracement after our initial drop. We are pumping as of right now, so maybe by the time I get this video out, it could be a different story. I don't know. However, we are obviously battling that area right there. Now, after we ended up bottoming out, okay, we ended up finding resistance there at the 0.382. And what we found here is that, we've obviously bottomed out here. We came back up to the 50%. So I don't know whether or not, we still have to have one final bottom before we end up going, or if we are actually in the stages of, we are over here now. So to be honest with you, before I started making this video, this candle was still below the 50% retracement. Okay, it was actually below the 0.382, which made complete sense of what was going on here. As I started recording, this thing started bloody pumping, making this actually seem like we could potentially be in this area here. I don't know, but as you guys can see, there are so many similarities to what was happening back then to what's happening now. Not only do we have the 3 peaks coming in on both charts, okay, so I'll just draw them out for you again. Give me 2 seconds. So here you go. Here you got your number 1, your number 2, your number 3. Back in May, we had 1, we had 2, we had 3. We have one final peak just below our high right there. We had one final peak just below our high right there back in May. And then obviously the most important thing for me is the fact that we found a lot of resistance at that 50% retracement after our initial drop. And the same thing goes for what's just happened with us right now. We had our initial drop and we're finding big resistance at that 50% retracement. So what I'm basically saying now, right, is this 50% retracement comes at $14. I believe that once we end up getting some kind of closes above the 50% retracement, which God knows it could even be happening at this point in time. I don't know, because it's obviously pumping right now. But the last time back in May, when Trius had that 50% retracement closed above over here, that's when it came back, it back tested it, making it look like it's going down again. And then it ended up going. So for me, at this point in time, if I take the May graph off, so if I just go to our chart that's happening right now, our 50% retracement comes right there at $13.9. Okay. If we can get some kind of close above it, as you can see, we're still finding a bit of resistance. It's still kind of battling it as I speak. I believe that once we get some kind of close above this, whether it's an hourly, 4-hour, even better, a daily close, that could potentially be the trigger for us to start heading up. Okay. And we know what happened back over here. Okay. We know that it rose. What was it? But did I say 400% when I started? Yeah, 430%. Okay. In dollar terms, it went from about $7-8 all the way to $32. Okay. And we know the type of things that Trias can do. And as for my personal targets, obviously not financial advice, guys, if I'm looking at targets, if I'm taking my full fib from here and we're looking at the extensions, our final extension is $127, okay, which is, just roughly just over, just under a 10x from here. And that is a conservative target compared to other people on Twitter. They've got much higher targets, which I do not discount at all. I personally have this as my final target. I'll be taking profit along the way. That's just me, okay? And we need to be making sure that we are taking a look at these retracements on the way up, okay? We know that that 50% has historically been a bit of an issue. So if we are taking a look at the 50% on the bigger time frame, that comes at $17.2. We've closed above the 0.382 a few days ago. So our next retracement is $17.2. And it's not ironic that, you know, that comes out 50% retracement comes out 13.9 as well. What does our first few extensions get us to? 16 and 18. So right in the middle there. Everything's pointing towards us moving up right now. It's just a matter of patience, getting through these levels. But yeah, guys, hopefully you guys can see what I'm seeing, because to me it does look very similar. Maybe I'm just chatting a whole lot of rubbish. I do not know, but hopefully you guys can see what I'm seeing. I kind of had a little bit of a deeper dive into it this morning, and things do look a lot more similar than they seem, other than the fact that, you know, this area right there looks exactly like that, which it does. We haven't even dived into that, but you can kind of tell that looks exactly like that. And then this area that we had just before a parabolic run looks exactly like what we are just doing right now. Now, again, not financial advice, guys. I could be completely wrong, but I'm just showing you guys a bit of data, a bit of similarities, and hopefully you can kind of get exactly where I'm coming from. And if that is the case, let's look out to close above $14, because that is our 50% retracement. And the last time Trius did that back in May after a similar run, it came back and back tested it. So hopefully we can go up towards maybe 15, 16, back test of 14, and then off we go. That would be the exact same thing as what Trius done previously. So yeah. Anyway, guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon. I'll be sure to keep you updated over there on Twitter. Take it easy, people.